of the Festival de Ideias, we will have a special panel which is called Test Your Idea, to get real practical hints how you can start a project and go on. We have Eric Santos as moderator. He's from Resultados Digitais. He's an entrepreneur. Well, this was my turn, but okay. Then Daniel São Martin Pascal Filho from Fisiogames. And Rafael Assunção. He's angel investor, real important person. Welcome to the social good. And Edgard Morato, my friend Ed, from Saútil. Welcome. Have a good panel. Get connected. Use Twitter, Facebook. Lots of conversations and talks going on. Hello. Oh, at the end we will have questions, as always, so you can write them down. The receptionists will get them and deliver them to us. So it's the same procedure. Good afternoon. I would like to congratulate the organization for bringing really practical stuff to the discussion. In many events, we stick to the level of the ideas, but that doesn't help too much, because you need the hints, practical information, how to improve your business. And the agenda of today, and especially of this panel, that's our purpose. How do we turn our ideas into something concrete? Before I pass over the word to the other panelists, I would like to give you a context. How did this all get started? The background. We spoke a lot about social media. Here we have 4 entrepreneurs from the technological side. So we have a different thinking if we look to Facebook and Twitter, not just how to use this in the business day, the routine, but check the results. And then we see how they created a business from scratch and got results so fast. And if we see the development process in the technological world, the processes have been changing, and this applies to other segments of lives, as the social networks. So this is really different. Now it's different if you open an enterprise compared to 10 years ago. It's much faster in the US. The companies would do fundraising, get venture capital, developing the products 3-4 years, then do a test, and they would make a lot of noise during the launch. Now we have a situation which is completely different. There are several reasons: the costs to put the things, to launch it, to launch something on a server. This would cost you like $1 million. Now I can do it with no cost at all if you place it in a cloud. And there are other reasons. I won't enumerate them all, but one other is very important. It's a movement, an intellectual and practical movement. There are people behind it, and many companies doing it and achieving results. It's a movement led on by Steve Blank. Who doesn't know him? He's a serial entrepreneur. He's created 8 tech companies. He made huge success. And 10 years ago, he said it's enough. He went back to Stanford and he retired and started to analyze the entrepreneurial process and wanted to give lectures and wrote a book, 4 Steps to Epiphany. And this is a revolution in the way of thinking, the development process, the process of creating a company. And then he wrote another book. But what he discovered was, first, and this is a known information, that the majority of the tech companies, he had data from companies that got investment, from funds, from venture capital. It's a small portion, but more than 80% didn't work out. And something else very interesting, the reason why they failed, they broke, it was not that they weren't able to produce the product from the technical point of sight, the engineering side, but because there was no demand for the product on the market. So when they had the idea, there was no user there or no user that wanted to pay for it. So we had many processes to develop products, but why didn't we have a process to develop the clients or to discover what the clients, the customers want? And here he created what we nowadays call customer development. And there is now another addition, very important. Uta knows that. It's business model generation. So you can analyze the business model when you're still in the theoretical phase. And another important finding, and he mentioned this all the time, when we are in these tech events, we hear it, that the facts happen outside the office. So you have to go outside, discover them in the outside, in the real world. And this was what we heard from the feedback when they were telling our competitors with the ideas what were their opinion. Another entrepreneur, Eric Weeds, he's also an entrepreneur and was a student from Planck. He created Lean Setup, and he worked on this idea, how you transform the business model, how do I make the interaction. So the concept of Lean Startup is very general, and I'll come to the conclusion of the introduction of the panel. In a startup, in a new business, the evolution, the progress at the beginning, it's not the number of users, your result, but it's the validated learning. When you can prove that this model is doing well and it's installed, and you have a formula, a cycle, you build something small, and you have a hypothesis of a business, then you check out what happens, you test it, you measure it, you analyze it, and then you continue. And a tool that's very helpful during the experimentation phase, and this was mentioned, it's the minimal product, viable product, MVP. So we discuss what's the theoretical definition, but that's not so important. But the smallest thing you must do to prove your hypothesis. So the idea is, when you have a tech startup, you have to externalize the main premises. I'm speaking about technology, but it might be any other business. How do I identify the premises? If they do not work, my business won't work. And how do I find a shortcut to test it the fastest way possible? So with these words, I invite, first of all, Edgard to present his case. And at the end, we will have time for questions and answers. We can use Twitter, Facebook to send us more questions. And the acronym was MVP.
Thank you, Eric. I think that is Very interesting, those two things that you mentioned. The lean startup, that we have applied is in the Saútil, and a little bit of what I'm going to show, and I don't have much time to show you, but we can work on these two concepts. Let me just get up. As I made this presentation today, I shall test it now. So as proposing here to test your idea in practice. In the beginning, to 2010, we had the idea of the Saútil. It stemmed from a perception that we had. We're going to make available the resources of the public health to the whole population of Brazil, because most of the Brazilian population do not have information on how to use the public system for health, the health service. So for the whole country, that is very hard. Imagine to map all the 5,000 plus cities, and then that was our first doubt. Should we map everything, or should we start with only one city? If we were to map everything, it would take a longer time, and only afterwards we would be able to test it. So we decided to scale it down, and we thought only of the city of São Paulo and go after this information from all. So we use to create a minimal value product. I am from São Paulo, so we would make this search engine work there. I am from São Paulo, so we know more or less how things work, so let's start from São Paulo. So we would reduce the time to make this idea come true, or to make it a practical idea. And soon after, we created the first prototype, the first model of the research, the engine. For those of you who have access Saútil, you know that it looks different than it's shown here because we ran some tests before. We wanted to have ideas to construct a product, to measure, to get better, so you do the cycle endlessly. So we put this idea into practice, and now let's test it. But who are we going to test it with? Well, let's test it with our network. Let's get our friends, our families, our partners, whoever are the stakeholders, and let them ask to test our tool to see. We involved about 5,000 people, which were the whole network of ours, and the first feedback started. People would tell us, "Oh, improve this bottom here," or leave a field for research here. So we started the first redesign. We had just launched it for testing, and soon after we had already 2 or 4 different layouts. And then we developed this one to launch it to the market. So we decided to launch it on a web platform, and how could we, in a very short time, reach to many people and get real feedback? Because we needed to speed this process up. We wanted to find out what we needed to change more radically. So let's test it using the sponsored links. Let's do some Google ads, and for internet is what is going to speed up traffic to our site. We tested several ways, mouth to mouth. It's not as fast as placing an ad on Google or Wall or any sponsored link in which people are looking for certain resources, and our product will appear right there. So with a very little investment, 50 reais per day, we were able to bring 1,500 people daily. And with the contribution of everyone, we realized that we were on the right way. Many people from all over Brazil, they started asking, "I don't have the service in my city. I live in Recife. What is available here? I am in Amazonas. I am in Rio Grande do Sul." So we realized that that idea that we originally had, that to offer it to the whole country, was valid. So the very population, the potential users, were giving us this feedback. So we tried to open it up to other places in Brazil. And from afterwards, we started to map first, initially the capital, the biggest cities, then first the capitals, then the 50 biggest cities in the city. And a year and a half ago, we finished the whole country, but still testing, launching new programs, seeing the feedback of the population, just to make sure that we were on the right path. And as my time is up, the main learnings that we have, the lessons that we can get, is to have an open mind for a change, is to listen to people. If you have a closed mind, my mindset is the right one, what I have in my brain is the right thing, that is wrong. We have to have an open mind, because the best feedback is from the users. It's from people that really use the tools, not from those who create. It's not from a close friend. It's from the users, and you have to be agile, very agile in implementing those changes that are suggested. So we have to develop that capability. And another thing that we learn is that we will never be 100% ready. Startup, any company, we have always innovating, always evolving. So no matter how much you think that you have a final product, there will come something that you have to change. And to wrap it up, a sentence that I think makes sense, a quotation by Raul Session: we are a moving metamorphosis. We are always moving and changing in order to make the product better. Thank you. Thank you. Danielle? Good afternoon. I am Danielle. My partner Kleber is in the audience following our conversation. And I am part from the Y generation. Like many of you, we were brought up within a technological revolution, especially in gaming. Those, you must have played Atari, PlayStation, and we were influenced by this. Don't worry about that, I only have this slide. Everything else is here in paper. But then back in 2008, we noticed that all around the world, research were carried out in order to understand whether these games that were considered villains at a time, whether they could bring any benefits from a health standpoint, especially in the United States and in the United Kingdom. They carried out very interesting research. So why not, we thought then, create a game that reunited the best practice to help rehabilitation and physiotherapy? Why not use entertainment for something that would go beyond that simply entertainment? And we had this idea. Let's form a group of people, physiotherapists, designers, programmers, and let's transform this idea into something. In 2009, with an established team, we started a process of what was to become video games. We went through an addict, synapse for innovation, and then our team started to interact with the Santa Catarina Center for Rehabilitation, and we tried to analyze how we could connect technology and really transform the lives of these people. For 4 months, we developed, and that involved processes, consultations, interviews, and at the end of this 4-month period, it was very interesting because I was rather tired on this day. A reporter from Terra came up to us to see this novelty. You're doing a game for physiotherapy? That's unheard of. So he filmed us, he played on the side, and it was right off one of the most watched videos. And as a curiosity, it became to be a recognition. They started to see that it was really possible to use games for physio rehabilitation. And in Brazil, it was very new. Some physiotherapists were not familiar with this area, with these possibilities. And then from there on, we got some key clients using this first version of the product. As Eric already mentioned, the minimum value product. It was necessary to validate our ideas, our concepts. So the company was not a real established company, so we went there and incubated it in a technology center here in Florianopolis. We professionalized the management. We started transforming the company. The company itself was a prototype. So we created a prototype of a company. We turned it into a real company, and this year we were selected for the face-to-face. We went to London, and in London, the National Health System uses games in health therapy. So through this prize, we had the opportunity to see. I think even we went to the Startup Health Brazil. We were also chose to take our business plan The business model was also very interesting. And we found out that we were actually good at it, to use technology to transform, to generate experience that could transform the lives of people. And it was result-oriented as well, that could be. From there on, we started to tackle other areas. We started using simulators, making simulators for training, games to sensibilize people. Maybe you will hear today about a new game that we just launched. So, what video games tries to make? It tries to bring quality of life to people through a commitment, because the idea itself is nothing. What matters is the capability of executing, realizing this idea, to materialize this idea that you may have in your head. Then, supported by this project or supported by the ideas, it's very important also to finish what you want. So this is the story of video game up to today. We went through hard patches sometimes, but it was funny overall. And this is what we have to have in our mind, is to dream and ask ourselves whether we really want to transform. It's sometimes a painful process, but it's rewarding. And this event, it goes in the same line, is to promote transformation through practical actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rafael is entrepreneur, has a vision, and he included the aspects of an investor. I'm not from the Y, but from the X generation. I'm also an entrepreneur, and at the time we didn't have Sirius Black and so on. We didn't have all the methodologies, so it was trial and fail, cycles of grow, create an enterprise, sell it, and so on. Now I help startups to from scratch. You have the idea on paper, but you have to turn it into something real. And every day there are new ideas, different things. Some are feasible, others not. A suggestion, if I may. The ideas, or what really works. We receive the ideas and then we say, well, this might work. What works? What can we use to validate the ideas? First, I had an idea. What's not good practice? I'll write a business plan. I go to my room, to the computer, I write it down, I look for an investor. No, forget it. This doesn't work out. It doesn't work. You have to do it different. Second idea. I have an idea. I'll create a page. My proposition will be there. And if there are many hits, the idea is good. People liked it, but it doesn't validate the idea. It shows you have a lot of friends. And that's it. And Google will be happy. Third thing, what does not work? The other day I saw something really nice. A girl posted on the internet, in Facebook, a nice idea. Many people travel abroad, and many would like them to bring something. Let's place the people traveling and people who need something on a platform, and each one brings them the stuff. She posted it on Facebook. All the friends said, wow, good idea. This, I will try it out. And she thought my idea is validated. But what's this called? It's contraband. It's smuggling. You're not supposed to do it. It's illegal. So be quiet. Think about it. Write down your business plan at home. Post a page. Write stuff to friends on Facebook. Does not validate an idea. You have to go out, talk to customers, to clients. people who will understand the problems. And when we do that, they will say, there's a problem. I didn't produce anything. I said, okay, then you didn't lose anything. You just lost one day to talk to someone. And that's the best test, because if it does not resist the first test, you can go home and change it. So the things Eric said, the ideas have to have the perspectives. You can test the ideas. It's easy. You don't have to do the entire thing, the entire platform. You can go step by step, small steps. And the new thing is the great opportunity with all the tools, the cloud, the methodologies. We can test the idea real quick and with low cost. We do not need the entire cycle and heavy investment. And the less time we invest, the less emotion we place on it, the better. Because if it's not working, you have to change. And if shorter the cycles, the easier it is to check it and correct your road. And for me, it's really good to participate in several projects with different tools, different methods, things we didn't have 10 years ago. And so developing businesses is much easier